Last night really were the Lamine YAMAL show against Granada. And boy, do we have somebody special on our books. And Joan Laporta needs to tie this kid down to a lifetime contract pretty much, right? At least 10 years because he was just sensational. But as always, guys, please do subscribe to the channel. We're going to talk about the Granada-Barcelona game. As always, do subscribe to the channel. It's going to help us a lot to get the family to grow. We upload weekly content around FC Barcelona only. Only the tactics. We do no news, no rumors, only tactics. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. As usual, Barcelona would have their centre-backs extremely wide on either side of the goalkeeper. And we did see Ruiz come up next to the striker in order to have a three-man where they would sit on the other pivot. But as we know by now, Barcelona would have a double pivot actually sitting there, and they forced Granada's pivot to actually come forward to have a 2-2 pressing the centre-backs. But Xavi had two ways to come through this. He had his centre-backs extremely wide in order to draw these guys into a press where he would then have two options to pass the ball to. And Inigo being left-footed also meant that Lewandowski could be an outlet to get the ball. However, Barcelona also had another way to get through all of this, is because they actually started to come into a 3-back-3 positioning really early in this game with Cubarsí, Koundé and Inigo per Martinez. And Pelestri was drawn backwards because of the positioning of João Cancelo. But this could still mean problems for Barca, as they could still have the three players. But then Frenkie de Jong came into this position right here, and that would actually free up Koundé to receive the ball and actually go forward for Barcelona, because now you could see they actually had an overload, a 3 versus 1 in that area over there. So as the game went on, Granada didn't really press high anymore. So they had a staggered positioning, right? Because they wanted to cut out the passing lane. Barcelona had some interesting way to get through this, and the one way, I didn't really capture this, but Ter Stegen was operating next to Cubarsí in a pressing situation like this. But because Koundé was so wide, like he was tasked, that often drew a player towards him. And Gundogan would come the immediate outlet, but then Christensen would receive the ball. However, we also saw that Cubarsí was really great at finding Pedri in this area right over here. As you would expect, Barcelona had their 3-2-5 shape, but this kind of created a problem for Barcelona because Inigo struggled to find Cancelo because of the positioning of Pelestri right here, and Cancelo often at times had to come back and Pedri had to join him as well. This did alter Barcelona's situation a little bit, but we did see Frenkie de Jong also coming into this space right here in order to draw him out of a press, and then you could actually find João Cancelo the same way with the other side as well, where they would draw these players out and Cubarsí could often switch the ball to Lamine Yamal. But we did see that Ruiz joined his partner in order to create a front two to be able to mark Barcelona pretty well. But Pedri then moved into that space in order to receive the ball. This would draw the players out as well, and that freed up Gundogan a whole lot, and Barcelona at multiple times could take advantage of this positioning. But don't you think it's extraordinary that a kid like Cubarsí would play in the middle of a back three consisting of Koundé and Inigo? I think, guys, we should go back to La Masia because we won't be able to go wrong with those players. Believe me when I tell it to you guys. La Masia is going to save Barcelona yet again. Because Barcelona was finding Lamine now so excellently, we did see that Granada most of the time went into a back five situation where they would defend like this. And then we saw Palestri tucking in next to their double pivot, or the single pivot, excuse me, to create a 5-3-2 situation. But of course, the spaces now, because they had to stay so narrow because of the free aids, the spaces now were next to the midfield, and we often saw that Frenkie de Jong would tuck in there. This was actually genius because Pedri actually created this situation where these three had to stay narrow, and often we saw Frenkie move into this space over here, which is funny enough where the goal actually came from Cancelo, actually, where he would go and run in behind and do that cross that we all saw. So that was really excellent, and Christensen did a pretty good job of covering and staying there. And we also saw that Koundé and Inigo would go forward to actually draw these players out of position. It is just a pity that Barcelona's players didn't take full advantage of this. Xavi is creating the system and everything, and I think most of the part is the players. Xavi is to blame for everything as well, for most things, but the players, they can't seem to think and can't seem to take advantage of the situation that Xavi is creating for the team. Nothing much really changed in the second half for Barcelona. The system stayed the same, but we did see a change when Lamine came on. Pedri went deep, and Barcelona kind of like had this 2-3-5 situation, which maybe was our downfall because Granada could now challenge the centre backs in possession, right? And this is where a lot of the mistakes came from. But for the most part, like I said, we had too many problems in terms of this middle area especially, right? But Lamine was really devastating. He was in excellent form. But for the guys, we really need to sort out this pivot position. And Christensen is really doing good, but I hate the fact that Christensen is passing the ball backwards a lot and sideways. We need to go forward, you know. And I do want to let you guys, if you're watching up until this point of the video, I want you to comment Christensen, and I want you to comment what do you think about his positioning and how he's been playing and what he can improve on. But yeah, from otherwise than that, that's not really much. A lot of tactics that were different, mainly tactics were the same. So Barcelona has two injury boosts with Ter Stegen and Rafinha being back. You know, Ter Stegen were a little bit shaky, especially in the start of the game where he gave the ball away almost like 3 times, and then Rafinha basically came on as a left back, and the situation was understandable and justifiable for that, but he's not a left back. As always, guys, do let me know your comments. What do you think about the game? Put it down in the comment section, and as always, do subscribe to the channel. You know, it's gonna help us, like I always say, as a family. But I'm excited to hear what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.